everyone wants to know is like, did something maybe shady go down here? It's like, it seems weird that you'd get a sudden $10 billion demand, three in the morning. Sorry, how much?
Yeah, it was $3 billion US dollars.
3 billion. Okay, $3 billion.
Yeah, around.
Just suddenly out of nowhere. And what percentage?
I wouldn't impute shadiness to it or anything like that. And actually, the NSCC was reasonable subsequent to this, and they worked with us to actually lower it. So it was unprecedented activity. I don't have the full context about what was going on in the NSCC to make these calculations, but essentially it was a large number.
Is anyone holding you hostage right now?
No, I'm okay. Yeah. Thanks for asking. But anyway, so this was obviously nerve-wracking, and I actually was asleep at this point. The operations team was fielding this at 3:00, and then we got back, we put our heads together. Our chief operating officer basically said, look, let's call up the higher ups at the NSCC and kind of figure out what's going on. Maybe there's some way we can work with them. And basically there was another call, and they lowered it to something like $1.4 billion from 3. Okay. So, we were making some progress, right? And then, but it's still a high number. And then we basically proposed, well, let's explain how we plan to, let's explain how, we'll manage risk in these symbols throughout the day. We proposed marking these volatile stocks that were kind of driving the activity, position closing only. And then at about an hour before market open, so 5:30 or 5 in the morning, they came back and they said, okay, the charge is, or the deposit, $700 million, which we then deposited and paid promptly, and then everything was fine. So that essentially explains why we had to mark these symbols position closing only, and also why we knew this was a bad outcome for customers. Part of what's been really difficult is Robinhood stands for democratizing access to stocks, and
yes,
we want to give people the access. So that's been very, very challenging. But we had no choice in this case. We had to conform to our regulatory capital requirements, and so the team did what they could to make sure we were available for customers.
Who controls this organization, this clearinghouse?
It's a consortium. It's not quite a government agency. I don't really know the details of all of that.
Okay.
But and to be fair, like we were I think there was legitimate sort of turmoil in the markets. Like, these are unprecedented events with these meme stocks, and there was a lot of activity. So there probably is some amount of extra risk in the system that warrants higher requirements. So it's not entirely unreasonable. But we did operational processes to make sure that customers that had positions could sell their open positions, because obviously restricting someone, we got a lot of questions about, okay, you had to restrict buying, why didn't you also restrict selling? And the fact of the matter is, people get really pissed off if they're holding stock and they want to sell it and they can't, right? So I think that's categorically worse. So and lots of other brokers, I think, were in the same situation. Robinhood was in the news, but you sort of heard this industry wide, right? Other brokers basically restricted the same exact activity.
All right, so it sounds like this organization calls you up and they basically have a gun to your head: either hand over this money or else. And So, because I mean, like basically, what people are wondering is like, did you sell your clients down the river, or did you have no choice? And if you had no choice, that's understandable. But then, we got to find out why you had no choice, and who are these people that are saying you have no choice?
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have to comply with these requirements. Financial institutions have requirements. The formula behind these requirements, I think it would obviously be ideal if there was a little bit more transparency so we could plan better around that. But to be fair, we were able to open and serve our customers, and 24 hours later, our team raised over $1 billion in capital, so that when we did open, when we do open tomorrow morning, we'll be able to kind of relax the stringent position limits that we put on these securities on Friday.
Will there be any limits?
Well, I think there's always going to be some theoretical limit. Like, we don't have infinite capital, right? And on Friday there were limits. So there's always going to have to be some limit. I think the question is, will the limits be high enough to the point where, they won't impact, 99.9+% of customers. So, if someone were to deposit $100 billion and decide to trade in one stock like that, that wouldn't be possible,
All right. All right. Well, I guess people really just want to know, if you had no choice, then you had no choice. It's gun to head situation, and then that's understandable. But then whoever put that gun to your head should, be willing to answer to the public.
Yeah, listen, and I know there's processes. This is unprecedented times, and to be fair to those guys, they've been reasonable. So I think the one thing that is maybe not clear to people is Robinhood's a participant in the financial system, so we have to work with all of these counterparties. So we do get a lot of questions about, why do you work with market makers? Why do you work with clearing houses? Vertically integrating and getting, it's hard enough to build introducing a clearing broker dealer. Not too many people have done that, but the financial system that allows customers to trade shares is sort of a complex web of multiple parties, and it's hard to. I think everyone says, oh, it could be better, it could be improved. It's just the necessity of trading equities in the U.S. that you have to do all these things.
I mean, to what degree are you beholden to Citadel? I mean, like basically, if Citadel's unhappy, then what happened?
Yeah, so that there was a rumor that Citadel or other market makers kind of pressured us into doing this, and that's just false, right? Market makers execute our trades. They execute trades of every broker dealer. This was a clearinghouse. This was a clearinghouse decision, and it was just based on the capital requirements. So, from our perspective, Citadel and other market makers weren't involved in that.
But wouldn't they have a strong say in who got put in charge of that organization, since it's an industry consortium, not a government consortium, or not a government regulatory agency?
I don't have any reason to believe that. I think that's just like, then you're getting into kind of the conspiracy theories a little bit. So I just have no reason to believe that that's the case,
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see what happens with future actions. Hopefully that was insightful, or at least a little bit entertaining. Are you not entertained?
Yeah.